Hey everyone, Greg Roten from Street Scene Plus. Coming back to you this week, and I'm going to talk about rusty bolts. We all live in Northeast Ohio, Western Pennsylvania, and what California people don't understand is rust. And we've all had to get that rusty bolt out, or if you're restoring a car, it's packed with rusty bolts. You want to get them out, and sometimes you want to get them out cleanly. So obviously you're going to take your WD-40 liquid wrench, PV blaster, you're going to soak that down for, a day or so, or a couple days if it's really bad, and try to get it out. And if you do get those bolts out, if you want to reuse some of those bolts, some of them are hard to find. So you can't go to Home Depot, you can't go to Lowe's, you can't go to your local hardware store and get those bolts. But if you want to reuse those bolts, you want them clean. And there is, instead of buying a whole bunch of cans of PV Blaster, which is, $4 or $5, $6 a can, it's expensive, and you want to get a tub. And it's pretty expensive to let all your bolts soak into that. It's expensive to buy this. There's a kind of a cheaper way to do it. If you got some old transmission fluid, sitting around from a transmission fluid you changed, and you have some left over, you can use some of this. Use some of this. I use the specialty reducer because I do a lot of paint work. Or you can use acetone. You put about half of the transmission fluid and half of acetone into a little container. I got some bolts here. You just kind of put some of this in, some of your acetone. And what you do, you kind of mix it in there, shake it up a little bit, and let it sit for a day or two. What that does, the acetone kind of eats that rust off, and the transmission fluid is, it's kind of a lubricant and a cleaner for your transmission. So what it'll do, the acetone eats the rust off, the transmission fluid will kind of take that rust away and clean your bolt off. So once you let it sit for a couple days, come out and give it a couple shakes once in a while, and your bolts will come out pretty nice. So that's a little bit cheaper fix, and cheaper than soaking them in expensive PV Blaster or WD-40 or liquid wrench. So you got some transmission fluid, some new transmission fluid, acetone or a reducer, mix those in, it's a little cheaper, and it'll do pretty much the same job. Now, if you're doing something real quick, and I've used this stuff for gas tanks, cleaning out old gas tanks, rusty bolts. Get this at Home Depot, muriatic acid. And I'm going to warn you, it is very toxic. So you want to wear gloves. You want to be in a well-ventilated area. Go outside, pour it in. This stuff it's battery acid is what it is. So it will eat off any rust and corrosion that you have. And I've been letting these sit. I put these in 5 minutes ago, and they're almost clean, these bolts. They were full of rust. So those work good. So again, cheaper alternative to PV Blaster for letting bolts soak, transmission fluid acetone, or transmission fluid and special reducer. You want it quicker? Muriatic acid. Just be careful, wear gloves, wear goggles, and go in a ventilated area. So that's your weekly tip from Street Scene Plus. I'm Greg Roten. We'll see you next time.